and the characterless split level on Harper Street. Surely both had been host to numerous Thanksgivings. Intuitively, Aubrey rested her hand on top of the listing sheet detailing the lesser property. Before, the paper had been room temperature. Now it emanated heat. It was a clear sign that was the property she needed to visit. Satisfied, Aubrey placed the paperwork for the Regal Georgian Colonial in the discard pile and turned back to the conversation. From her spectator's point of view, she listened. The mood had morphed into something more akin to cutthroat reality television. Who would Malcolm choose? The Surrey City Press staff was capable, but this story was unlikely and vast. Ordinarily, anyone might describe the mid-sized Massachusetts town as uneventful, a place like a time capsule. Last Friday, it felt as if they'd cracked one open when skeletal remains had spilled out from behind Dustin Bird's basement wall. Aubrey happened to be in Malcolm's office when the story broke, hearing details of the ghoulish tale via neighbor Stan Entwistle, who had been minding the Bird's cats. Dustin Bird had taken his mother to Foxwoods. Violet liked to play the penny slots, and her only son had splurged, the two of them celebrating her 75th birthday. Entwistle couldn't locate the felines and decided to look in the basement. What he found was half a foot of rising water. It immediately prompted a phone call to master plumber Reggie Swanson. But Reggie had trouble locating the leak and eventually drilled a hole into a sloping section of brick wall. Fishing a camera through, the plumber spied a broken pipe, a backpack, and, most disturbing, something that looked like floating bones. It didn't take long for the police to arrive, busting through a wall from which secrets gushed. Behind the brick, which police theorized was a later addition, were Missy Flanagan's backpack and skeletal remains, still dressed in a rat-tattered Surrey State t-shirt and shorts. It was the outfit Missy had been wearing the day she vanished. A team effort, led by Malcolm, handled immediate coverage of the story. These reportable facts read like a giant billboard, impossible to miss. But now Malcolm had to choose, putting one reporter in charge of investigating and finessing the multifaceted story. Adding to the situation was the onslaught of national media. 20 years prior, when disappearing girls were more of an anomaly than a sad statistic, national media had descended on Surrey. Over the weekend, they'd returned, not only prompted by the grisly discovery of a murdered girl's remains, but also by the fresh news swirling around Army veteran Frank Delacourt. He was the man who'd pleaded innocent to Missy's murder, but ultimately was convicted of the crime sans body. A Surrey jury of his peers had sentenced him to life in prison. With the discovery of Missy's remains, in the house of a man who now appeared stunningly suspect, Frank's conviction did seem disputable. Aubrey tipped her head, leaning toward Malcolm's edition of the Surrey City Press. The headline read, "Did Surrey rush to justice?" Maybe they had, maybe they hadn't. Either way, the choice of lead reporter would be critical to how the newspaper covered the story. From his end of the table, Malcolm urged the conversation to a close. The others had backed off, conceding that the choice was between Ned and Beebe. Ned? Beebe? Suffice it to say, I'm thoroughly familiar with your work. Malcolm folded his hands as the room awaited the call. He didn't make one, his face nearly as ashen as the day he'd had his heart attack. You're all fine reporters, he said, pointing around the table. I have no doubt any one of you would give this story your best. But it appears... His suspenders, shirt, and bony shoulders shifted in one defeated motion. It seems the decision is out of my hands. The buzz fizzled, and Beebe snatched the lead. What does that mean, out of your hands? Her tiny eyes narrowed at Malcolm. It means corporate is going to be in on this one. Media Matters has suggested that someone with... It seems they've decided to lighten the load for us. At least that's how it was put to me. Due to the compelling nature of this story, they're providing assistance from one of the larger papers.